On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, James Gunn has cast his Pa Kent for the new Superman film. Also, Pamela Anderson has joined up with Liam Neeson for the new Naked Gun reboot that's coming. TV's Flash star Grant Gustin confirms that he has been speaking to James Gunn, but not about the character of the Flash. And there are rumors and reports going around that Sam Raimi, director, of course, of all the original Spider-Man films, may be in line to direct Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. We're going to talk about that and a few things more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part today by our friends at Harry's and Miracle Made. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but hopefully giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or even a bit different than ours. Joining me in studio today, we got Ray Ora.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Jonathan Voico.
We made it to the show.
Right, yeah, it was a rough one today. Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
It's surprise day. Anything can happen.
Anything can and already has happened. And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making today's show part of your day. And here's how it's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about those predetermined topics that I listed off. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to get to the most important part, which is to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or observation that you would like us to address, go ahead and use the super chat feature and fire that in. And as long as it's appropriate to be read on the show, we'll read it here on the show. All right, guys. That down. Let you guys know something a little bit up front here. Today is the last show that we will be doing from this room.
Yep.
Today's the final show we're doing from this room. 2 years.
Bittersweet.
2 years we've been doing shows from this room. Today's the last one. Tomorrow I'll be doing the show from my office over there. And so there is a show tomorrow. But today's the last day we're doing the show from in here as we start getting packed up and ready to go. So 2 years in this room. A lot has happened, although it still just feels like yesterday that we came in here and started measuring it. But 2 years have come and gone. All right. With everything down and the stage is now set, let's get things going here with this. Of course, one of my most anticipated movies, not quite as anticipated as, say, Deadpool 3, but is James Gunn's Superman. Not just a new Superman, a new DCU, a brand new cinematic universe for the DC universe is coming. Really excited about it. Now, we've already got most of the casting. We already, of course, know David Cornsweet's our Superman. We've got our Lois Lane. We've got our Lex Luthor. Heck, we've even got our Guy Gardner Green Lantern. We got our Mr. Terrific. We got our Hawk Girl and on and on. But now we've got Pa Kent. This comes to us from Deadline. James Gunn's Superman adds Pruitt Taylor Vince as Pa Kent. Now, you might be asking yourself, who the heck is Pruitt Taylor Vince? It's this guy. Pruitt's one of these guys in Hollywood that you recognize the face right away. And you're like, oh, yeah, I saw him in that thing and in that other thing. But one of those guys whose names you never really know. Deadline wrote this. Warner Brothers / DC Studios Superman has cast Pruitt Taylor Vince as Jonathan Kent as the Earth citizen father of Krypton's native Superman. Taylor Vince follows in the footsteps of such actors as Kevin Costner, who portrayed him brilliantly in 2013's Man of Steel, and Glenn Ford in 1978's Richard Donner's Superman. Taylor Vince's credits include the upcoming Apple TV Plus series Later in the Lake opposite Natalie Portman, True Blood, The Walking Dead, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Stranger Things, as well as a lot of other stuff, including Netflix's Sandra Bullock's film, Bird Box. All right. I like the casting. I do. Like, I didn't need the casting of Pa Kent, and I don't think they've cast Ma Kent yet, have they? They haven't cast Martha yet. Why did you say that name? They haven't cast Martha yet, right?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think they have. So we got our Pa Kent. Here's why I like the casting. Number one, he's always good in everything I see him in. Like, he's solid, but he just looks like a Midwest, salt of the earth, farmer kind of guy he's got kind eyes, Rob. He's got kind eyes. And I can just see it. This is just a good example again. James Gunn is terrific at casting, and he always tends to look for not the biggest name. He looks for the right person for the right role. Now, is Pruitt the guy I would have picked to play Pa Kent? I know his face. I didn't even know his name. So no, obviously not. But I think the pick is good. What do you think about it, Rob?
Well, I've always been a great fan of Pruitt Taylor Vince. He goes all the way back to, there's a shot in Jacob's Ladder, the movie Jacob's Ladder, all the way, what is that, 1990?
Yeah, it's going back.
Where he's in Vietnam and he's sitting on the ground and he does this thing with his eyes. The camera's pushing up to him, and the shot, it's really creepy. It's a great shot. He was in an episode of The X-Files.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, every time when I first think of him, I think of him as a creepy dude because he's played, but he's also done a lot of other things. But if you look back at I haven't looked at his IMDb lately, but the guy's been in a million things. And I think he's a great actor. So I like you said, he immediately screams salt of the earth, Midwestern farmer type. I expect to see him on a big red John Deere tractor in the middle of wheat fields, and Superman swoops down and maybe picks him up on that tractor and takes him somewhere. I'm excited.
I can see this guy. This guy's got a face that could say to Superman, "Don't give me sass, boy."
Yeah, I know.
I could. He's got the face that can do that. What was that? Remember, he was in that little horror film where it was like he was the psycho guy. He shows up at this family's house. Is like, this is mom and dad's house. Remember, the family's like, well, your family doesn't live here anymore. Oh, I'm trying to remember the name of that movie he did. If anybody in the live chat,
Identity? No,
it wasn't Identity. But if anybody in the live
James
chat remembers that one, anyway, guys, question is for you. We got our Pa Kent. Will he play a significant role in the film? Will he, just be a plot device for Superman dealing with the death of his father and he dies in the first 5 minutes of the film? I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? I remember when I was much younger watching a movie that maybe was inappropriate for me to watch. Naked Gun. Naked Gun was a terrific spoof series. I mean, they haven't made a good spoof movie in decades. But Naked Gun came from that era of a little bit after Airplane, but in that era when they were making good spoof movies, like the Hot Shots movie. And I keep forgetting the name of the Val Kilmer one.
That's
Top Secret.
Top Secret, yeah.
Top Secret and stuff like that. The Naked Gun films came out there. Well, we found out a while ago that Liam Neeson was going to be headlining a reboot of Naked Gun, and they confirmed it at CinemaCon. And Liam Neeson is literally, if God opened up the heavens and let down from on high, here is your perfect choice to play Frank Drebin in a Naked Gun reboot. Liam Neeson's the guy.
He does have a certain set of skills, so.
He does have, after all, a certain set of skills. Now, if you guys remember back in the Naked Gun days, they cast a love interest, and it was Priscilla Presley.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep. She was great in it.
And she was great in it.
Yeah.
And now they've kind of gone with that same kind of flavor again, as according to Deadline, they've cast Pamela Anderson.
Amen.
To be the love interest for Liam Neeson in this thing. They wrote the following. Liam Neeson's Lieutenant Frank Drebin was wrong. Cops and women do mix. And with that, we have Pamela Anderson joining Liam Neeson in Paramount Pictures' untitled Naked Gun reboot, which Akiva Schaffer is directing and executive producing for a July 8th, 2025 theatrical release, which means like a year and a couple of months from now, we're going to get this thing in theaters, which is really exciting. Listen, like every schoolboy, I loved Pamela Anderson back in the day. Of course, be remiss if I didn't point out, good Canadian kid, Pamela Anderson, was discovered, as a matter of fact. Pamela Anderson got discovered, true story, while attending a CFL football game.
Wow.
And some producer just saw her there and flash forward a little bit and she's in Baywatch. And then but that's all I knew her from. I admit that all I really knew of Pamela Anderson was her time on Baywatch. Then I loved the Pam and Tommy Hulu series that they did. And it really made me appreciate her more. And I started wondering, I remember when that series came out, I started wondering, I wonder if this could be like the catalyst of maybe a little bit of a comeback for Pamela Anderson. And of course, you didn't really hear much. And then this drops. I think she's perfect for this. Because if you look back at how they handled Naked Gun, and they got someone like a Priscilla Presley to come in and do that, I think this is great. I think her and Liam Neeson are going to have amazing online chemistry. I personally love this. Rob, you heard about this. What do you think?
Well, you talk about being a young man, as a middle-aged man, with 1 foot in the grave. Let me tell you, Pam Anderson. No, I think she has also got pretty good comic timing, and I think that this is exactly the kind of thing that I would expect of a reboot of the Naked Gun series. Count me in. You go, Pamela. You deserve it.
But and she's got some experience in the spoof stuff, right? Like she did, I think, Scary Movie 3. She did that superhero spoof movie as well. Like she's appeared in this type of stuff before. She's just got a little bit of background, a little bit of experience. I'm sure this is a different thing. She'll probably be the female
Plus, she'll
lead
be
of the film.
hilarious.
Oh, I have no doubt she's going to be hilarious.
Hilarious.
I think she's going to be great. And
Yeah,
especially because it's not a drama.
You basically have to play the role she's playing straight while mayhem ensues around you.
Yeah. I mean, and again,
So-
it's not like this is a Scorsese film. It's not like they're calling for high Shakespearean skill here.
Yeah.
I think she's just going to play right into it. And I think if they write it right, it could be really funny.
I mean, we're going to get the new equivalent of Nice Beaver.
Yep. Yep.
And we
That's
will.
One of the great all-time lines.
We're going to get that. And by the way, before anybody writes in and cancels me,
It's
you
a
gotta
line
look
from the
it up.
movie.
You got to see the scene.
Yes,
to get
it's a comedy line from the movie.
It's about a real beaver.
Anyway,
The animal.
Question is for you. What do you guys think? Pamela Anderson is joining Liam Neeson in Naked Gun. I personally love it. I think it's perfect, especially when you look at the way they used to cast these things before. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, we already mentioned when we were talking about the Pa Kent story that, you know, James Gunn, of course, has a brand new DCU coming, which means new iterations of almost all of the characters. Now, one of the existing characters in the extended DC universe, of course, was from CW's Arrowverse, and that was Grant Gustin, who played the Flash. I thought Grant Gustin was a great CW Flash. I really enjoyed watching him on that show. I mean, I watched the show pretty steadily for about the first 6 seasons. I kind of fell off it after that. I think the show kind of lost its way, but I consider myself a fan of the show and certainly a fan of Grant Gustin. Now, a lot of people who were fans of the show, for all 15 that are out there, really were kind of hoping.
Shots fired.
I mean, listen, I watched the show, but there weren't many of us.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of us that watched the show in comparison. But I mean, there were a lot of people that were hoping that, you know, Grant Gustin would be the new movie version of Flash. That's a mistake. I mean, they're making, you don't go and do that. But, you know, a lot of people really like him. And then James Gunn not long ago mentioned that he's a big admirer of Grant Gustin and would love to work with him sometime, just maybe not as Flash. Well, apparently now, Grant Gustin says him and James Gunn have actually been speaking. This comes from the folks at Comic Book Movie wrote this. Quoting Grant Gustin, says this: "We've never talked about Flash," the actor confirmed. "We've talked. Just like I'm a huge Superman fan. I've always been a Superman fan since I was a kid. So I'm just really excited about the movie, and I'm excited about David Cornsweet's casting." He added, "I'm excited to see what James Gunn does with it." So I think at one point, maybe a couple of different times, we've DM'd about Superman. We've literally never talked Flash. I'm just excited he's doing Superman. All right. Now, what we as movie fans do is we take little comments and make mountains out of them. That's what we do. None of us are innocent of this. We've all done it, including me.
I've never.
So I just do think it's interesting, though, that not long ago, James Gunn, we talked about on the show that James Gunn went out of way to talk and address Grant Gustin and says, I think Grant Gustin's a terrific. I just went to go see him in his stage play. Of course, he's doing Water for Elephants right now. He's on Broadway. Grant Gustin, great actor. And James Gunn saying, I would love to work with Grant Gustin. Would love it. Now, flash forward a month and a half or so. Grant Gustin saying, oh yeah, me and James Gunn have talked. We've DM'd, but we don't talk about Flash. So the question becomes, could this, and granted, I'm acknowledging right up front, we might be reading way too much into this. Totally. All of us might be reading too much into this. But let's follow that path for a second. Let's go down that rabbit trail. Rob, I got two questions. One, is it possible we could see Grant Gustin pop up in James Gunn's new DCU? But then two, are fans going to accept him in the new DCU? Because if he does, he ain't going to be Flash. We know that for certain. He won't be Flash. So could we see James Gunn actually recruit him into the DCU, and will fans be okay with him being in the DC universe that he's not playing the Flash? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think if an actor is well cast in a role, I don't think people really, if the character's great that the actor's cast in, no one's sitting there thinking about what the actor's played in the past. You know, they're thinking about what's going on right now. And like, when I have to tell you, whenever I've seen Chris Evans as Captain America, I have never once thought about him playing Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four movies.
I try not to ever.
You just, well, I mean, it's not from a bad way. It's just when an actor creates an indelible character, you don't think about characters they've previously played. I think maybe that might change in the future with Chris Evans, but you never know. But I think that you just don't do that. You don't compare and contrast. So if he shows up, James Gunn wants to put the best actors. Like, look, when I see Michael Rooker, you know, in Guardians, I don't think that he was Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, even though he was.
Wow, man, deep dive.
And when, to your Chris Evans example, when we watched Knives Out, we weren't thinking Captain America.
Totally not.
Right?
Yeah, you don't. Because actors are supposed to be chameleon-like, and the thing is, a good actor is a good actor. And James Gunn, he loves. You know, the thing about it is when he's casting, he doesn't cast because some agent said, "Hey, this role is a big role." He's somebody who's hand-picking people. I'm willing to bet that out of left field, James Gunn probably walked in one day and said, "You know who I want to play Pa Kent? I want Pruitt Taylor Vince to play Pa Kent," because he was probably watching something random like JFK or Natural Born Killers or Angel Heart or something that Pruitt Taylor Vince was in like 30 years ago.
Mississippi Burning,
something like that. Yeah, and he's like, that's the guy.
Or and a big thank you to Luke Flack in the live chat. Devil's Candy. That was the movie I was thinking about that Pruitt was in. Or he was watching Devil's Candy, which, you know what, is totally the kind of movie James Gunn would
100%. And I think that any true filmmaker, and James Gunn is a consummate filmmaker, you know, you're looking at people like that. You're trying to find actors that you like and want to bring in and work with to create something that's indelibly yours, because, you know, I'm fixated on certain actors myself, and people that, why would you want to cast them? I'm like, because they're awesome.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, that's why. That's it.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Could you see Grant Gustin being in the DCU, not playing the Flash? Do you think that could happen? How would you feel about it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. We still got a bunch of things to cover here, but before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Miracle Made. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Miracle Made. Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so that you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. When they arrived at our house, my wife Ann loved the feel of them so much, she couldn't even wait for me to get home to put them on our bed. Miracle Made has self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevents up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. Miracle Sheets also have incredible comfort and quality. Miracle Sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. So go to TryMiracle, that's TryMiracle.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you will get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to TryMiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's TryMiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. And thank you to our friends at Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get into this, shall we? Now, look, Marvel has made 3 fantastic Spider-Man movies, no doubt. Far From Home, Homecoming, No Way Home. They're all great. They really, really are. But they've not made any of the top 3 best Spider-Man movies, which are Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, and obviously a film that some people still consider one of the greatest comic book films of all time, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Sam Raimi, of course, is a director who's got lots of experience with the webhead, I should say, making the first couple Spider-Man movies. Then there was Spider-Man 3, but whatever. We'll overlook that one. And, of course, right now, we're all looking forward to Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. A lot of rumors and reports going around that it'll start shooting this year. But who's going to direct it? Because John Watts, who directed the previous 3 Spider-Man movies, is moved on. He's doing other things now. Actually, he's got that Star Wars show coming out. What's it called? Skeleton Crew? He's got Skeleton Crew. And then he's making a movie with George Clooney and Brad Pitt.
Oh, Wolves.
Which, so he's kind of moved on. And good for him. He did 3 of the movies. Great. So who's going to be next? I think Jeremy Lin, not Jeremy Lin, that was the basketball player. Yeah. Worked on the Fast and Furious as well.
Oh, Justin Lin.
Justin Lin. Jeremy Lin, coming out of basketball retirement to direct. So yeah, Justin Lin's been one of the names that's been mentioned. But a new name has kind of been thrown out there. That's an old name. Sam Raimi. That's the rumor. Now, before we talk any further about it, let's be very, very clear. None of this is coming from a rock-solid place. None of this is coming from Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, or Deadline, or anything like that. But it is coming from a site that I like to read, World of Real. Anyway, this comes from the folks at CBR who wrote this. According to World of Real, Sam Raimi is the top contender to direct the next Sony/Marvel Spider-Man movie. Other names in the running include John Francis Daley, Jonathan Goldstein, as well as Jon Favreau, Drew Goddard, who directed the 2011 horror film Cabin in the Woods, and Justin Lin, who helmed 5 movies in the Fast and the Furious franchise, were previously mentioned but have signed up for other projects. Okay. So, again, with the giant asterisk that this is coming from one online outlet, right? Not one of the major trades, so take it with a giant grain of salt. Let's talk about it, though, about the merits of this rumor. There are several good reasons to buy into this rumor. Number one, Sam Raimi is a terrific director who has worked in so much genre. People loved Sam Raimi before he did the Spider-Man movies. And you know what? That Oz movie, that Oz the Great and Powerful movie he did, I really liked. That Drag Me to Hell movie he did. Oh, yeah. I love that.
Simple Plan.
Simple Plan. I mean, he's just a solid
Quick
director.
and the Dead.
And here's the thing, too. He's worked with Marvel. And Kevin Feige said something about him that I've not heard him say about any of his directors, which was Sam is the kind of guy who I don't need to check in on. He said he's one of these directors that I love having, he's a director that I can just, once he gets going on his movie, I don't have to check in on him. I know he's going to handle everything and everything will be fine. And by the way, while Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness gets a little bit of a bad rap, clearly it's not as good as I don't personally think it's as good as the first Doctor Strange, but it was a lot more of a complex movie to try to do. And while some people may poo-poo on the movie, here's some facts. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness made $955 million at the box office.
That's a lot of change.
That is a lot of gold coins. It got a 73% Rotten Tomato critic score and an 85% audience score. And it is the high $955 million. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is the highest grossing MCU movie out of their last 6 films. And it is the second highest grossing MCU movie out of the last 9 MCU movies, only coming in second to Spider-Man No Way Home. Other than Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is the highest grossing film they've had in the last 9 films. So generally decently received by the critics, pretty positively received by the audience. Again, I don't think it's as good as the first one, but still, it was a more complex film. Biggest film they've done in the last 6, second biggest film they've done in the last 9. And Kevin Feige loves working with them. So if you're looking for a reason to believe in the feasibility of Sam Raimi, director of Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, possibly coming in to direct a Tom Holland, Spider-Man 4, Rob, I think there's a lot of good reasons to think that this is very possible and very logical. That doesn't mean I think this is going to happen. This is still a rumor in the rumor mill, not being floated by one of the legitimate trades. But still, as a rumor goes, Rob, I think this rumors has got a lot behind it at this point. What would you think about the possibility of a Sam Raimi doing a Tom Holland Spider-Man 4, and how realistic do you think such a rumor could be?
Well, I mean, Evil Dead, which was his debut movie, came out in 1981. So you're looking at a guy that has quite a lot of experience in the entertainment business. He directed Darkman with our friend Liam Neeson. He's done so many different kinds of genre films. I love, if you guys haven't seen The Quick and the Dead, Russell Crowe, Sharon Stone, come on. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Lex Luthor.
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman in that.
I mean, hell, I even have a screen credit on Army of Darkness, and he directed that. So I would say that Sam Raimi, in terms of having he directed the baseball movie. Was it For Love of the Game? What was the?
Did he do that? Did he do a baseball movie? I don't recall that. You're
He did
probably right.
Something like that. I don't remember. But he's done he's worked in every genre. A Simple Plan, based on Scott Smith's books. Same guy who wrote The Ruins. Great guy. Great book. Great movie. He knows his stuff. Like, he's one of the most experienced directors in Hollywood today.
That was Sam Raimi for Love of the Game.
It was Sam Raimi. Yeah, there you go. So you're looking at a guy that's worked in every genre, at every studio, at every level, and he can control a $200 million budget and deliver. So there's not a lot of people in Hollywood, I mean, that, it's funny because he's kind of, I hate to say it, but he's an elder statesman now.
He is.
He's up there. And he's also, people love that guy. And I think it's a perfect choice. He's certainly made Sony a lot of money. I mean, they're not going to be like, hey, who is this Raimi guy? And why would we hire him to do Spider-Man? I don't know, I think he's in a perfect position to do it. He's obviously made money for both studios. And I think it'd be really interesting because basically Spider-Man is in a blank slate now. No one knows who Peter Parker is.
Yeah.
He's living on his own. You literally can rebuild Spider-Man almost from scratch. And that's an interesting position for a director to be in. Even though he's a franchise property IP now, you're starting from scratch. You have a blank slate.
Ray, what year did Spider-Man 3? Find out for me, what year did Spider-Man 3 come out? Because here's, somebody brought up in the live chat a very good point. And I lost who it was that said it. What's that?
2007.
2007. So we're talking 17 years ago. Somebody brought up in the live chat that I don't know that I would want Sam Raimi. He had his time with Spider-Man. Fair point. That is a fair point. But let me tell you why that actually works. For me, it works in his favor. Because he's done Spider-Man, some people would argue he's done the greatest Spider-Man of all time with Spider-Man 2. But he stumbled a bit with Spider-Man 3, right? He stumbled a bit with Spider-Man 3. And he's had 17 years to reflect on the things that he did that worked with Spider-Man, to reflect on the things that even he did that did not work on Spider-Man, to sit back and see somebody else take the helm on Spider-Man, both in live action form with John Watts and in animated form with Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. I actually think that puts him in a very interesting position to come back in and swing with Spider-Man again. I could totally see it. And by the way, if you're somebody who's dying to see a Tobey Maguire cameo in the next Spider-Man, put Sam Raimi in there, that probably increases the chance of that by 70 or 80%. So, I mean, look, do I think this will actually happen? I'm dubious. I'll be honest with you. I'm dubious that this actually happens. But there's a lot of things to this that make it make sense. So it's going to be interesting to sit back and see how this kind of all unfolds. Rob, if you had to give an over-under number as to the chances that we actually see Sam Raimi direct a Spider-Man 4, where would you set the number?
I would say 50%, because I think Marvel needs experienced directors. They need experienced directors that have worked with big special effects and understand how to humanize these characters. And one of the things that I think Sam Raimi did best, look, he was not happy with the studio mandated the nightmare that was Spider-Man 3 for him. Massive budget, had to throw all this stuff. It wasn't the movie he wanted to make. And that's why he walked from Spider-Man 4. You know, I think what's great about this movie is Sam Raimi can deliver the goods, but he can concentrate on the character of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. He's not forced, let's have Sandman, let's have Venom, let's have this, let's have that. You've got to build this character back up and humanize him. And that's what I think Sam Raimi's big strength is. He can take all the hell's a poppin' crazy Evil Dead or Oz or Dark Man or whatever, and then humanize that character.
Right.
That's what he's best at.
One of our live chat equity group is saying, facts, they hired a nobody to do the Marvels, and look at what happened. I didn't think the Marvels was all that bad. But by the way, I just want to follow on the logic. They hired a couple of nobodies to direct Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Because ain't nobody had ever heard of the Russo brothers before that. Like, very, very few people had ever heard their names. They are the guys who did You, Me, and Dupree. I mean, and so, look, Kevin Feige's got a pretty good handle on finding directors that know how to work in his wheelhouse.
And he's already proven himself making Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, and genre in general. Like, he's really good in that. So, I'm going to take the under on 50%. But not a lot. Like, I'd probably be around the 40 to 45 range. It'll be interesting to see how this all turns out. All right, guys. With that all down, before we move into taking your live questions, there's still some other stuff to talk about here. Other things going on in the world of movie news that we don't have time to make full dedicated segments for. So here are some things in other news. Jonathan, what do we got?
All right, first up. At a recent event, Sophia DiMartino was asked if she would return to the MCU to appear with Chris Hemsworth's Thor. She said the following: I think it would be great to see Sylvie and Thor. She said, I think it would be fun to see them get wound up, especially if Loki is in the equation. 3 siblings together, although, I don't know, there was some love triangle issues going on there. The dynamic would be interesting, she said. Excuse me, John, true or false, having Sylvie return to the MCU is a good idea?
False. And don't get me wrong, I think Sophia DiMartino was great. I think she performed really well in the Loki series, but ultimately the character was kind of useless. They had her basically around just to be the one to stab Kang at the end of season 1. I don't see any purpose for the character in the MCU at this point. And Jonathan, as you were alluding to, the whole Loki thing was kind of creepy. Mm-hmm. Like, basically, like, sex with her would basically be masturbation in many ways. I don't see it. I don't think we need her around. I'm going to say false. Rob?
I'm going to say true, John. Only because of what you brought up. Can you imagine what if Thor falls for her? I mean, that could get really weird, and the dynamic could get.
But you say that as if it's a good thing.
Well, I mean, if you're Thor, it could be. No, I don't know. It could be weird and strange. I just enjoyed her as an actress, but I see what you're saying. I mean, I know where you're coming from, but as a performer, I really liked her, and if they figured out a way to bring her in, it could be. I think it could be interesting.
All right, what's next?
There's a Hot Toy figure of her.
All right, moving quickly on from that. Steve Buscemi has reportedly joined the cast of Wednesday Season 2. According to Coming Soon, Buscemi has been cast as the new principal of Nevermore Academy in the second season of Netflix's Wednesday. Rob, true or false, adding Steve Buscemi to the cast is the right move for Wednesday Season 2?
True. Who does not love Steve Buscemi? I mean, I've loved Steve Buscemi for, 30, 40 years now? I mean, it's funny. You see these guys and you're like, he was in Reservoir Dogs. I loved him in Reservoir Dogs. And that was 32 years ago.
Crazy.
I mean, I love Steve Buscemi. Why not? Bring him on. He's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, this is absolutely true. I mean, weirdly enough, when I think of Steve Buscemi now, I immediately go to Boardwalk Empire and stuff like that. But even if you go to stuff like Armageddon and whatever, I've always loved him. And you know what? It's not, I've always say just adding talent is never a bad decision.
No.
But when you just look at Steve Buscemi and his work, he's a great fit for Wednesday. He will fit so seamlessly into that world. It's a great decision on their part. All right, what's next?
All right. Netflix's Three Body Problem has just had its third week at #1 on the Netflix charts. The drama series from Game of Thrones creators David Benioff and D.B. Weiss clocked 4.8 million views in its third week at #1. It now has about 40 million views in total. John, true or false, Three Body Problem is already a smash hit for Netflix?
False. I really like this show a lot. I binged the whole season in one night, and 40 million views, #1 3 weeks in a row. That's all good, but it's been #1 3 weeks in a row in a pretty weak month for Netflix. For by comparison's sake, The Witcher had about 80 something million views, right? So is it a win? Absolutely, it's a win. Would I call it a smash hit for Netflix? Not quite yet. I wouldn't. Rob?
I'm going to say true. Demographics, literary sci-fi. Here's the thing for me. The fact that it's smart is that people are hearing about it. Word of mouth is keeping it propped up. It's interesting. It's fascinating. When you watch it, it doesn't talk down to the audience, and it gives people science fiction that they're craving for, which is smart and interesting. And, well, it's, where it's going to go is not good. It's going to be very entertaining, but it leaves you with this sense of an impending apocalypse that no one, if you feel that way, you're not wrong. And man, I can't wait to see seasons 2 and 3 if they do the second and third books.
All right, what's next?
Participant, the media production company that won 2 Best Picture Oscars and gave us films like Spotlight, The Green Book, Roma, Lincoln, Good Night and Good Luck, and many others, has announced they are shutting down after 20 years in business. As the founder of the company, Jeff Skull, has informed his 100 employees that it's time for him to move on to other challenges. Rob, true or false, Participant Media made a positive impact on Hollywood?
100% true. I think this is a real blow for the kind of entertainment. They always were shooting high. They always gave us really important films, very issue-oriented films. Perhaps not the kind of movies that were going to burn up the box office charts, but movies that I think made us all richer and added to the great legacy of cinematic arts over the last 2 decades, and I'm sorry to see him go.
It's absolutely true. And I was shocked to hear about them. And the neat thing, too, Skoll always talked about the fact that he made Participant Media to try to make movies with a message, something to make a positive influence. And when you look at his films like Spotlight, and he took on a lot of different types of topics and issues. Yep. Spotlight, Roma actually led to laws being passed in Mexico, labor laws being passed in Mexico, specifically because of Roma. When you look at films like Green Book and so on and so forth, they made some really top-notch movies, and I'm really sad that they're not going to be a part of the landscape anymore.
But if they're not, what a great legacy.
Yeah.
In terms of, if you think about it.
2 Best Picture wins.
Yeah, and if you think about a life in terms of the arts and what you want to do in cinema, here's a life well lived.
By the way, you know me, as a sports guy, I like stats. So with Participant Media having been around 20 years, that means as long as they've been around, 10% of the Oscars, they won Best Picture 10% of the time that they were around.
So would you say they are participating in Oscar wins?
Lots of participation. All right, what's last?
Okay, after that joke, the lawsuit against Universal for false advertising, the one where they put out trailers for the movie yesterday that has shots of famous actress Ana de Armas in them, yet she wasn't in the movie, has been settled. The terms of the settlement were not disclosed. John, true or false, Universal deserved to have this lawsuit brought against them?
True. 100% true. Look, I get it. You make a movie and then you make trailers and then sometimes edits happen and things get taken out of the movie. but they purposefully kept one of the hottest stars in the world, Ana de Armas, in their trailers even after they knew she was gone. Hell, even when the movie went to streaming, they kept her in the trailers. And listen, this isn't like an Avengers movie where there was a shot of some Avengers running across the grass. That shot is not the selling point. Who is in a movie is a major selling point. And what comes next if you don't get to take Universal to court over this? What? They start saying, "Oh, Brad Pitt's going to be in this movie," but he's not in the movie. There is a difference between being misleading in your marketing and straight up lying in your marketing. They absolutely deserve to get sued, and I'm glad they got it settled. Rob,
I'm going to say false on this one, John, only because movies are iterative, and I understand what you're saying. She was shot. She was shot in the movie. She is on the deleted scenes on the physical media disc. You can see that she was there. The fact that she wasn't in the finished film, that's happened so often throughout cinema history, but you do have a very good point. They were marketing the film based on her image, and that was, they need to be more diligent, but I don't think it should have resulted in a lawsuit.
Again, I just wonder, then what does the next studio do? You know, it's like, hey, that studio got away with showing Ana de Armas. You know where I would even let it go is if after the theatrical run was done and then it goes on to Amazon Prime for rental and stuff like that. If at that point they had taken her out of the trailer, but they kept her in, they kept using her image as the selling point, as a selling point for the movie when they knew she was already gone.
It's true. I mean, that is the point. But it's an odd thing because you know, it's like Thufir Hawat was not in Dune 2, but they shot his scenes, you know, but they didn't use him to advertise the film.
And that's the thing. Like,
and he's not on the physical media.
I don't know. All right, guys. With that all down, we're now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is hearing from you guys. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Harry's. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Harry's. You know, guys, in order to start the John Campea Show, I had to leave my high-paying corporate job in order to set myself up to be happier and enjoy more personal success. Because sometimes to get what you want, you have to challenge the status quo and blaze your own trail. And that's exactly what the folks at Harry's did. You see, at Harry's, they saw customers getting ripped off by questionable products in the shaving industry and decided to do something better. Harry's decided to pave their own road by making beautifully designed razors for a fraction of the price of the other big brands. Exceptional products, honest prices. That's Harry's. I have fallen in love with Harry's, from their foaming shaving gel that feels just luxurious on the skin to their incredible razor that feels just as good in the hand as it does going over your skin. They've got rich, lathering, skin-softening body wash in scents like redwood, wildlands, and stone. You see, Harry's provides German-engineered blades made in their own factory that stay sharp longer. You can get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. Don't settle for the status quo. Blaze your own trail with Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. That's harrys.com/Campea for a $3 trial set. And thank you to our friends at Harry's for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, that down, let's get over to your live questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
All right, first off, we got Sanchez Guy who says, if you have or haven't heard, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer is now 100 years old. Long live the MGM Lions.
I mean, one of the most iconic Hollywood images you can think of on the screen with that lion, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and all that kind of stuff. Of course, now owned by Amazon, has them. They're doing a lot of work with the catalog that they have. But happy 100th to MGM.
You know, John, all I can think about now when you mention MGM is the ribs that we had at the MGM hotel.
Oh my God. When we were in Vegas, now whenever Ann and I are in Vegas, we make it a point to go to Steph Curry, the NBA superstar. His wife owns a restaurant there. And it's called the International Smokehouse. And it's in the MGM hotel. And it is, I hesitate to call it a barbecue place. It's not really a barbecue place per se, but they got some, their ribs.
The Korean ribs.
And their pork belly mac and cheese.
Ooh.
Oh my, and what was the other side we had?
No, pork, I think there was pork belly fried rice.
Oh, there was also pork. No, sorry. It was rib tip mac and cheese, pork belly fried rice
Bro, stop talking. I'm
with
dying.
their various rib stuff. My
yeah.
mouth is watering just
They
thinking
did.
about it. It's so
They
good.
did
We're only
barbecue
3
pork-
hours away.
They did,
Let's hop in the car and go.
they did barbecue pork ribs in a Korean style, so they had like green onions on the top.
That's
It
right,
was
the
just
Korean
so
style.
soft. I
So
was
good. Anyway, sorry, let's get back to I can talk about that place all day. All right, what's next?
Jay Loco says, "Oh shit, Shogun hat! What an explosive episode! I'm
I see
asking,
what
I'm
you're doing
begging,
there.
if not for good sense, if not for God, then will you consider living for me?"
Okay, I'm going to go out right now and say this. This is one of the greatest television shows I've ever watched. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. I keep, like, after the first couple episodes, okay, great start. But, Obi-Wan had a great start too, and we saw where that went, right? And every week I keep waiting for the crappy episode to drop.
But even if it did, you've had 9 great, so who cares?
Yeah. But I mean, it's like, but the illusion would then be done. It's like, okay, it's a really great show, but every single damn week they up it, and then they up it again, and I thought I was gonna puke. Sitting, did you see the new episode?
Yeah.
Okay, when she's holding the knife. And like the tension, the editing, the timing, the performance, like I thought I was going to throw up. I could feel myself getting sick, like from the tension. I never feel that way. And then that speech he gives her, like, if not for yourself, if not for God, then I am begging you, live for me. I'm like, oh, it's so good. This show, guys, listen, I say this all the time. If you're not watching Shogun, there are 3 great shows of our current 3-year era. House of the Dragon, Last of Us, and Shogun. And Shogun might be the best of the 3. We'll see how they stick the landing next week. Next week's the final episode. So we'll see how they stick the landing, but it is like truly one of the greatest shows I've ever watched.
Everyone needs a Marco in their life.
Oh, yeah. All right, what's next?
We got Christopher Brickner. How disappointed would you be if the last episode of Shogun was as bad as Highlander 2 or Catwoman after 9 great episodes?
I'd be really sad. I would be very, very, very sad. Although I don't know how you finish this thing up in one episode with where they're at. But
Call Benioff and what?
Season 2, John.
I don't know how you do a season 2. I mean, this is it. This is the story. They'd have to create new stuff, create new content, because James Clavell's novel ends there. Now, there's a sequel to James Clavell's Shogun novel, but it happens like 200 years later, like in a more modern world with the descendants of Tornaga and things like. Anyway, very sad. I would be very sad if the last episode sucks. All right, what's next?
James Wheeler says, $50 super chat first off.
Thank you, James, so much, man. That's incredibly generous of you, dude.
Hello, everyone. Episode 9 of Shogun was amazing. I'm overwhelmed by how great this show is. We're going to keep this going.
Okay, so look, I just want to point something out. There are shows I love watching for different reasons, right? Every show you love for a different reason, something that show brings. And, I'm really big into the flash, bang, boom, action, adventure, all that kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, man, when a show, go back to last episode, when he's meeting with Tornaga's meeting with his lords, and his main right hand guy says I'm gonna go right here. First of all, Hiroyuki, what's his last name? Sonata. His performance in that scene last week, like displaying rage and sorrow, and like all at the same time, like he's playing a guy who's dying inside, but has to pretend he's tough. And like, it was like, give him an Emmy right now. Just give him an Emmy. And like, when you can have the scene where nobody's moving, a 15-minute scene where nobody's moving, everybody's just sitting and talking, and you are glued to the screen. And then they repeated it again this week with the scene with Mariko. I'm like, there's good filmmaking, and then there's God tier. This is God tier level. I know it's on television, but this is God tier level filmmaking, Rob. I mean, I from the writing, the performances, the cinematography, the timing, the editing, the movements, it's just, yeah. We haven't talked about it since the new episode came out, but where are you at right now on this show?
Dude, I feel the same way. I mean, look, Shogun, the original from 1980, was one of my favorite things that I've ever watched on television. It still to this day is. And seeing this, and it was great. But this is equal, if not better, than the original Shogun. It's different, but it's so good, and the people behind it and are who you're talking about. He goes all the way back. He was a teen star in Japan. I mean, he's been acting for more than 40 years.
Yeah.
And
He's an
it's
icon.
like, I mean, everyone thinks because he's new to the American scene, kind of, but the guy,
And he's really not new to the American scene.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's been around.
Even in the American scene, he's been around a long
But
time.
yeah, he wasn't acting as a teenager and stuff like in the 80s. And he is so good, and he's a producer on this show, and you can see that the level of care and effort that has been put into this television program, this is what we expect from our entertainment. And, it's funny. People are always talking about, well, Hollywood's in trouble. And no. What you want is Hollywood to be an industry of people that have the creatives, the husband and wife team that are behind Shogun. That's the kind of creators that we want. They spent 3 years making this show. Remember, we used to joke about, I wonder if the show will ever show up.
Yeah, because it was literally
production.
5 years ago they announced it.
Yeah, they announced it a long time ago, and we're like, where did it go? Well, now we know. And this is what people want from their entertainment. This is a show that will be rediscovered. People are going to find this show for the next 10 years on streaming. It's not going to disappear. People are going to return to it, and you and I will watch it again and again. And by the way, it's the best Star Trek show on TV. And I say that because it's about what happens when a man from the Federation finds himself on an alien world. That's what I thought about the Shogun in 1980. That's what I think about this. It's the kind of show that Star Trek should be. If I made a Star Trek show, it would be like this.
All right, what's next?
Let it go, bro.
Never going to let it go.
All right, Matan says, if the rumors
I love rumors.
of Zendaya coming back as MJ are true, then it might pass sewing a Deadpool's mouth as the worst call Tom Rothman made in the superhero films. He should stick to a non-tentpole films.
What are we talking about? You don't like the idea of Zendaya coming back for Spider-Man 4?
SMJ?
And worse than sewing up Deadpool's mouth? You got to really hate that.
What? What? Who doesn't like Zendaya in these Spider-Man movies?
Matan.
I guess so. Anyway, I've heard no such thing that Zendaya's not like. Don't be ridiculous. Zendaya will absolutely be in Spider-Man 4. So yeah, don't worry about that. She will absolutely be in Spider-Man 4.
I don't know
what's
why it
next?
would be a bad decision. Because the
Maybe
way
story-wise? I
they
don't know.
leave it, you have to watch these two characters. It'll be interesting just from how do they meet one another, and will the spark still be there? If you don't remember a person or they don't remember you, how can you then? I'm curious about what they do with that.
I mean, if he's saying that from a point of view that he just thought that the way that Peter and her story ended in the
Right.
last one, it
Right.
should end on the heartbreak.
Right.
If his point is that was a heartbreaking, beautiful in its heartbreak ending, to
Which
bring
is
her
true.
back now
Which is
would
true.
undo it. Okay, if that's what you're saying, I can see where you're coming from. But I did not get the feeling that that's what they were saying. I
Right.
got the feeling that they just don't like Zendaya in the movies. Oh, but okay, whatever. All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher says, thoughts on Feige now having control over Marvel Comics. While I hate the MCU comics synergy, I feel like it won't be as bad as people online think.
But he's been in charge of it for a number of years now, hasn't he?
I don't think so.
Of
The actual
comics?
comic
Of the
books?
comics.
no.
Either way, listen, I guarantee you, though, Kevin Feige, as busy as he is not going to be hands-on running the comics. It's kind of like the same way, Bob Iger is not hands-on running the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland. I mean, yeah, he's the boss of the whole company, but he has people to look after that and run it. And I'm sure he'll send down an edict now and then, hey, we don't want to have this in the comics, or we do want to have something like this, but I really don't think he's going to be hands-on running the comics.
All I can say is I haven't been as interested in any Marvel comics as I have been enjoying Ultimate Spider-Man right now.
It's so good.
So good.
It's so good.
I actually have bought individual issues, and I haven't done that in a while. Except I did buy the X-Men Hellfire Gala 2023. Not going to lie.
All right, what's
Buy
next?
that too.
1253 Sir 3 says, "Hi, John and crew. Just started watching Shogun. It's streamed on Disney Plus in the UK, and I had to reactivate my account to watch it. Only on episode 2, but enjoying it. And Cosmo Jarvis has such a great voice."
He's like Cosmo Jarvis is kind of like Mike Tyson. You look at him and you don't think that's the voice that's going to come out of him. Like I mean, when I first see Cosmo, and then all of a sudden he's talking like this. Like I just, it's totally different. And now I'm completely used to it. Now I'm adjusted to it. But you're right, man. Cosmo's got a great voice. And you know, I remember when they cast him, I didn't know much about him. I'm thinking you got to get somebody to fill the shoes of Richard Chamberlain, who was such a great John Blackthorne. And he's done it. He's won me over. It's a different John Blackthorne than the one that was in the original one. But my God, he has made this role. He has manifested this role so brilliantly, so perfectly. Next to Sonata and the actress who plays Mariko, who I'm telling you what, she's in line for Emmys too. Like, especially after last night's episode. I mean, it's bonkers, so good. All right, what's next?
Ray Loves Trenchcoat says, "Love the Fallout show."
Yeah, I mean, I'm really liking it. I'm 5 episodes in now. I think it's 5. I got to the point where she's with the medical robot. Okay, so
Spoiler, John.
I'm really enjoying it. I'm really liking it. But you know, I've had some people write to me this week saying, you know, why aren't you talking about Fallout? You said you liked it. Why are you talking about it? It's one of the consequences of making the stupid decision to drop all the episodes at once.
Yep.
We can't talk about it. Nobody's at the same place. Bunch of people haven't started watching it. Bunch of people have already finished it. Some people are on episode 3. Some people are on episode 6. I'm on episode 5. One of the unintentional drawbacks of these places by dropping shows all at once is, unlike Shogun, we can't talk about it week after week after week. It's just everybody's in a different place. There's no talking about it. Other than to say, if you write in and ask, what do you think about Fallout? I can say, I'm really liking it. But that's as far as we can talk about, really. Have you been watching it?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think it's beautifully made. I really love it's really clever. It's a lot of fun to watch. But I'm not nearly, there's no way I could be as emotionally engaged by the show simply because of what it is as, say, Shogun. I mean, Shogun, you're dealing with, like you said, you can be sitting in a room with these people all sitting down, and the human drama that's playing out, it goes to your heart. A show like Fallout is never going to have the emotional resonance of, say, watching Shawshank Redemption.
Right.
Or Shogun. And so while it's a really well, I mean, if you're going to adapt a video game, Fallout's really well done. It's really clever. I really like everything about it, but it's a trifle. It's like an entertainment. It's like, that was fun.
That's all it's supposed to be, though.
I know. So
Yeah.
that's exactly right. It's
And it's
exactly
very well made.
Very well done.
And I'm enjoying it.
It's really clever.
I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it. I really am. It's just that, again, this came up too, even back in like the AMC days, is that we couldn't really talk about Netflix shows because they dropped them all at once. And it was like, well, okay, well, there you go. Whereas shows that come week after week after week, everybody's at the same place.
Yes.
We can talk about it and all, and it just, it sucks.
I wanted to go back to that question before, just to
How far back?
the Marvel Comics and Kevin Feige.
Oh, okay.
I think he's referring to, like, there's a Marvel Comics writer that claims Kevin Feige ordered Kamala Khan death for MCU synergy.
Right. I saw that. Then I read another person at Marvel saying, no, he didn't. But whatever.
Yeah, there was a response like 2 hours ago to.
Yeah, but I think Kevin Feige is in charge of all of Marvel at this point. I think. Anyway.
I don't know.
All right. What's next?
CM Waters says, "Episode 9 of Shogun is by far my favorite, as it takes the strong beliefs these characters hold, what has been my favorite aspect about these characters, and puts them to the ultimate gut-wrenching test."
Gut-wrenching is right.
Also love it when our protagonists are smarter than everybody else. Toranaga is playing Star Trek chess
See?
while everybody else is playing checkers.
See what I mean?
Yeah, like not just chess,
3D
like the
chess.
seven
Yeah.
That's
layer
right, my
chess
friend.
board.
Dimensional
You know, I can't believe you just said that. Bravo, John.
I thought it would make you
Four-dimensional
happy.
chess or three-dimensional chess?
But like Toranaga is like 5 steps ahead of everybody. And just like when she's standing there facing off against like the 12 guys, and she's like, I can't fight my way through. She goes, but if I'm not able to fulfill the command of my Lord, then I have to kill myself in my shame. And you're like, oh. And then that scene. And then when John says, I'll second you. I'm like, ah, I'm just dying inside. Oh my God. It's such good television. It's so good.
And it has a thing or two to teach us about honor.
Oh yeah, the honor, duty, all that kind of stuff. And it brings up, but it's not blindly honor and duty. It also raises questions about where do you balance honor and duty with love and people you care about and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, this is the first thing that comes to my mind whenever I read somebody says, oh, nobody knows how to write anymore. Yes, they do. I'm seeing some of the best writing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people
right
that
now.
know, right? And I mean, look, Three Body Problem. It might not be a perfect adaptation.
So well written.
We're seeing entertainment that's shooting high,
Yeah.
that expects the audience to rise up to its level.
Yep. Love it.
Audiences aren't dumb.
And by the way, there's some great lower hanging fruit. Somebody just brought up in like The Boys. Like we're getting stuff that even stuff that appeals to our more visceral natures. Things like The Boys, Gen V, things like that are so good right now. There's some absolutely fantastic stuff. Rob, you have a phrase you use, an embarrassment of riches.
An embarrassment of riches.
Like that we get to enjoy right now.
And that's why when everybody, the thing that you might really love and you can get mad that it's not as good as you want it to be, well, here's a time to branch out and find things you might not have sampled otherwise, because there's a lot of great stuff out there that will definitely reinvigorate you in terms of what entertainment is possible to do for you if you just find it.
Start with Velma.
Damn,
second
dude.
season.
That was
Got
a
a second
throwback.
Who's coming?
Wow.
Season 2 is
Way to back
coming.
me up there, Ray.
I'm sorry.
Talk about raising the bar. All right, what's next?
Raising the
I
bar.
would go up from there.
All right. Well, Ray Loves Trench Coats is back and says, sorry, John, but mozzarella sticks and sour cream ain't it. Now ketchup on eggs is amazing.
All I'm going to
Man.
tell you, I'll say, look, not just like movies. When it comes to food, not everything is for everybody, 100%. All I will tell you is, over the years, since I've been spreading the good news of having sour cream with your mozzarella sticks, without exaggeration, not hyperbole, at a ratio of 10 to 1, I've heard from people saying, oh my God, this is a revelation, to, oh, I tried it and it's not for me. I'm just telling you the facts. Like from the people that I've heard back from, it's a 10 to 1 ratio. It's the way to go.
Can you at least admit that's like a weird combo? I can admit
Absolutely.
that
100%
ketchup
it's a
and
weird
eggs
combination.
is weird.
Yep.
But I like it. So that's the weirdest thing that you.
No, not the weirdest.
Oh, what is it? I don't want to hear.
You've
Maybe I
heard me say it before. You might have forgotten.
Was it peanut butter and mayo?
Oh, close.
I
Peanut
just
butter,
vomited
butter,
in
and
my mouth
mayonnaise.
a little bit.
What? Excuse me. Say
Peanut butter, butter, and mayonnaise. Sandwich.
God.
what kind of palate do you have?
When I was a kid, all right? When I was a kid,
It's like hamsters on a wheel for a pallet.
and like my mom was working,
Okay.
there
Oh,
was a
happy
time
birthday,
that my
Mom.
mom worked. And happy birthday to my mom, by the way. It's my mom's birthday today. Talked to her before the show started.
I got to send her greetings too.
You know, I would do different things as a kid. For example, I would take some spaghetti,
Throw it at the wall.
boil the spaghetti, and then take a can of Campbell's cream of mushroom soup and pour it on the spaghetti. Don't know why I did that. But also one day coming home, I was like, what do I make? I'm hungry. Here's a loaf of bread. We got some mayo in the fridge. They got some peanut butter and we got butter. And for about 2 years, my go-to sandwich was peanut butter, butter, and mayonnaise.
However, I will
That
say the
explains a lot.
spaghetti, the spaghetti with the cream of mushroom isn't far off.
Yeah, I mean, I could see
it's
that.
a hobo version of like, you know, yeah,
like a
Oh, yeah,
Alfredo
you know,
sauce.
yeah,
a lot
with
of what
mushroom,
he eats
you
is
know.
hobo
like
version.
mushrooms and spaghetti. Like
could
they
see
do
that.
all the time.
My weirdest thing was corn and milk. I would put corn kernels with milk and a little bit of sugar.
Yeah.
That's what we ate.
Well, that's
that was
sweet-
my hobo.
sweet
That was
corn
my
kind of
hobo
thing.
meal when I was a child.
Can we say hobo anymore without getting canceled?
Oh yeah, because it's you don't know what a hobo is. It could be
Vagabond.
anything.
Vagabond.
Vagabond. There you go. See, you're
thrifty.
bringing up the level of discourse. A
Bargain
vagabond.
eater.
All right, what's next?
Hobo, bro.
Hobo bro.
Hobo.
Okay. Juliana Goodwin says, what is a movie hill you will die on? Mine is Shrek 3. Is this Taylor? Shrek 3 and Shrek 4. are as equally good as 1 and 2. As you always say, John, it's only being right.
Yeah, I mean, being right is
God.
often like being a great artist.
Jesus.
You're not appreciated until many years later. Speaking of which, man, sitting with Taylor at CinemaCon is an experience. Many of you guys who watch the show for a while, you guys remember Taylor.
There's
So
been a couple of times where we were there and I looked at him straight and I said, "Why are you the way you are?"
why are you the way you are? Taylor's wonderful. Taylor's wonderful.
He's a
But
wonder.
man, I'll tell you what, sitting with him, and then during one of the studios like every studio had like an opening montage they would play, like the history and the greatness of the studio, right? Before they went into their full presentation. And I can't remember which one it was, whichever one has DreamWorks. Universal's thing. They're doing it, and for a split second, Shrek's on the screen.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, I thought I could hear urine coming out of
Yeah.
Taylor. I thought I could audibly hear him pissing his
I
pants.
felt it. I was just sitting right next to him. I felt it.
I felt it.
It was warm on my feet.
Why is it warm?
At least it doesn't have fungus in it.
Sorry, what was the question?
Okay, go
Oh, Hill I'll Die On.
Yeah, what hill will you die on?
That's
Like you're constantly arguing with people or debating with people about it.
That's a really good question. I mean, I'm trying to think of one that I have had to fight battles. Like, Godfather is an amazing movie. Well, no one's going to argue with me about that. I mean, so I'm trying to think of something that would totally die on that hill that a lot of people would want to argue me about. And I don't know if I can think of a lot of
That's a tough one.
that.
Yeah.
That is a tough one.
That would have to be one that you just. I don't think you could do it on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would just have to, I'd need to marinate on that for a while. Oh yeah, some guys in the live chat. How many of you in the live chat? Man of Steel. I'll die on that hill. Man of Steel is a masterpiece of the comic book genre. It is a horribly underrated film that even like the great John Schnepp thought was okay the first time he watched it, but then the more and more he watches, like, no man, this movie's fucking awesome. Like I will die on that hill. Man of Steel is not a masterpiece on the same level as Godfather, but a masterpiece of the comic book genre.
Can we go the other way? A movie that people always hate me for
If
hating.
you bring up, if you say Goonies,
He's
I
gonna
was
say
going
the
to say
Goonies.
Goonies. You knew I was.
Goonies is so good.
Dude, Goonies is Star Trek in Washington State.
Oh my God.
It's about an
Actually,
away
it's-
team
it's actually
that
in
finds
Astoria, so
themselves
it's in
in
Oregon.
a foreign cave full of mysteries abound.
That movie has gratuitous kissing. I thought that when I was in high school.
Wait. So do you like it or you don't, Rob?
He hates it.
I
Oh, you
hate
hate the
Goonies,
Goonies?
man.
Hates the Goonies.
I hate
Wow.
Goonies. I understand. I get all your points.
That's crazy. I wouldn't.
Goonies
That
never
movie
die, man.
drives
Goonies-
me berserk.
Goonies never die. It's Star Trek in caves. Okay.
No, it's
What's next?
Star Trek is Star Trek in caves.
Mr. I says, holy shiitake. Great on spaghetti, by the way. Episode 6 of X-Men 97 was good. Too bad only 4 episodes left. Could this be one of the best animated series in a long time? The dialogue has been top notch. I don't know about best.
Can't say
but
yes.
it's fun.
No.
There's still more
Don't
to
get me
go.
wrong. I like X-Men 97.
I
I
like
am a
Archer
pro.
far better.
I'm a pro.
Blue-Eyed
X-Men.
Samurai.
I was about to say that.
Oh.
I am a pro X-Men 97 guy. 100%. I mean, I haven't loved every episode, but I am fully on board with X-Men 97. But it's not Blue-Eyed Samurai.
No.
It's not Arcane. It's
Bluey.
not Invincible Season 1. Did you say Bluey?
Bluey Eye Samurai. I mean.
The Bluey Eye Samurai. There's a poster you need to make. Bluey Eye Samurai. Yeah, again, I really like X-Men 97 for what it is. But it's to me, all due respect to everybody else, because again, I'm pro X-Men 97. It's not near the same level as some of the other animation we're getting today. I don't
Not even as
think.
good as Archer. Archer's
What about
great.
Oh, Archer. God, I love Archer.
What about the former though? We at least judge it as in the old X-Men cartoon versus
It is a worthy successor to
Oh, yeah.
the original
Yeah,
X-Men.
I would say
Absolutely.
that. My problem is, as an X-Men comic fan, they're blowing through these long, drawn-out sagas that I really enjoyed from the comics.
It's
you know-
very annotated storytelling.
Yeah.
they're doing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Like the Madeline Pryor, if I had a dream girl that was in a comic book, it would be Demon Madeline Pryor. And then they just breeze through that storyline. What happens in episode 5 is that it's big. And it's there's ramifications, and they did it all so quickly, and then they move on to the next episode. And I mean,
You're just mad that Pryor wasn't in her comic accurate, whatever the hell that is she wears.
I don't know. She looked pretty good to me. Just saying.
All right, what's next?
Redhead.
Pablo says, "Have you guys watched Scott Adkins' podcast?"
I didn't even know Scott had a podcast.
He does. It's pretty good.
I have no doubt it would be.
My
good.
friend Dieter Bastian, who I do Let's Get Physical Media with, is a Scott Adkins acolyte. He loves Scott Adkins. So I've watched it a few times. Really good stuff.
I got to tell you what, I really enjoy Scott.
Yeah.
Whenever he's like, whether he's appearing in a small role in a big major film like he did in the first Doctor Strange, or whether he's doing his own, like the Hitman's Holiday, the Hitman's
And John
Vacation
Wick.
films, or oh god, his role in John Wick is so good.
So good.
But like I remember it was a couple months back
Yep.
where he had his new movie coming out, and he just gave me a call. He said, "Can we talk about things?" And I don't do celebrity interviews anymore. I don't do them. But Scott called me up and said, can we talk about the new movie?" I'm like, "For you, 100%, 100%." He's just a really nice guy, and I didn't even realize he had the podcast. I gotta go check it out. All right, what's next?
YouTube.
Kevin's with a $20 super chat says,
Thank you, Kevins.
just showing some love, no question today. Just very excited for Deadpool 3.
I'll tell you what. Like you guys know, it's been my most anticipated movie, right? So that's no secret. But on top of the excitement going into CinemaCon, there was also some trepidation because I knew they were going to show us some Deadpool 3. And I was down deep, kind of worried that what if I don't like what they show us? Oh my God, guys, the stuff they showed us. It has taken my hype to another level. I am ravenously excited about it.
That's good.
And it takes, now everybody knows, like I've got a little bit of a connection with Ryan. We touch base now and again, but you'd be very proud of me. I have very intentionally, very purposefully, not once have I written to Ryan Reynolds to ask him anything about Deadpool 3. Not a single thing, not a single time have I written to him to ask him about anything about Deadpool 3. Not a thing. I mean,
Not even for premiere tickets?
not even for premiere tickets, nothing. And I wouldn't go because I don't go to any of that stuff anymore.
I'll go.
Go to that one.
Ryan, I'll
I-
go.
Come
If
on.
You're watching, I'll go.
You'd go to that.
I love Rex.
Okay. If I got the invite from the PR team, which I still get the invites and stuff like that, I won't go. If Ryan personally invited me to go, which he won't, but if Ryan
Well, that
were
would
to
be
personally
different.
reach out to me and invite me to go, then obviously I would.
That would be
go.
as a
but
guest.
otherwise I won't.
Not as a.
I don't go. I don't go to any press days. I don't go to any press screenings. I don't go to anything press. I haven't for about a year. I won't. But if I was personally invited, fuck yes,
So-
of course I'd go.
So Ryan knows what to do. Just invite me. And,
Just invite
just
Ray.
let's see what happens. Let's
I made a
roll the
movie
Yeah,
with
dice.
my
because-
sister-in-law 25 years ago.
At the end of the
Maybe
day,
you'll
Ryan, you want
let me know.
someone who watches movies with their eyes. So
Yeah.
With their eyes, not their buttholes.
Yeah. Well, maybe this no one you have to watch with your butthole.
All right. What's next?
Okay, moving on to our members.
Where are we going now?
Fanjecture is where we're going. Thoughts on John M. Chu adapting Crazy Rich Asians as a Broadway musical?
It could totally work when you look at the nature of the movie and everything too. By the way, John M. Chu has very quietly become a very major heavy hitter director in this town. He went from directing a Justin Bieber music movie, like what was it? Never Say Die, Never
Yeah.
Up,
Never Stop, Never Stopping. I don't know.
Never Stop. By the way, that's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
Never Stop is a great movie. But he has very quietly gone from that to making some incredible movies. I love the first Crazy Rich Asians. And what he's doing on Wicked right now looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
So good on him. All right, what's next?
Let's see. Kane Carnage says, I know it's been a week, but did you guys end up catching WrestleMania? Thoughts on the show?
No, I never did see it.
I haven't watched the full thing. I've only watched like the main matches. I thought it was pretty good. The end was kind of surprising. Yeah. It was a good WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, I watch WrestleMania every year now, but this year, like the Saturday was Ann's birthday
Yep.
party. The Sunday we were getting ready to leave town, and I just never had a chance to watch it.
And then the Wi-Fi was like, if we weren't on that, the main.
Oh
Wi-Fi
yeah,
in
the
room,
Wi-Fi
I
in the
couldn't watch
hotel was
anything,
pretty
so-
wonky. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
We got Dr. Stinky Yo, I watched Casablanca. Congratulations. And I went in thinking I was going to love it. Not only the hype around it, but I actually didn't like it. I'm sorry. You don't have to apologize to me. Sorry, Jonathan. It's not bad. I respect its high praise, but it didn't work for me. Love y'all.
There, that will happen with some of the old classics a lot. For example, there's still a lot of AFI lists that come out that when you go to the top, like best movie of all time, Citizen Kane. I didn't watch Citizen Kane for the first time until I was in my 20s. Maybe early 30s. No, it was in my late 20s when I watched Casablanca or Citizen Kane. Rosebud. I liked it. I don't get it's the greatest movie of all time talk around it. I mean, I enjoyed it. I like it. I think it's a good movie, but that's the thing about these were movies that were made in a completely different era, made a completely different way, made for completely different audiences that were watching movies in completely different methods than we do today. And it's hard to cross compare massive generational gaps in movies like that. But then again, I watched Lawrence of Arabia, and it's one of my favorite films of all time. I watched the original Spartacus or Ben-Hur or the Ten Commandments, and it's like, yes, but every once in a while, I think one of these classic ones won't click for us. Do you have any of the old classics like that?
No,
for you?
I mean, I think that the real difference is when you're watching, it comes down to subject matter, really. Like, William Randolph Hearst, if you don't know anything about, the subject matter of Citizen Kane, while it's mythic and amazing, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Whereas Lawrence of Arabia is basically the story of a superhero. In a way. I mean, T.E. Lawrence and everything goes on. You've got battles. You've got all this stuff going on. It's a lot more appealing, I think, to a lot of people's sensibilities than, say, something like Citizen Kane is. And when it comes to Casablanca, I mean, there's a lot of context that people just don't even have. Like when they go in and they watch Casablanca, they're like, what's actually going on here? Right. Why can't they leave? If you don't understand anything about the historical period that Casablanca is taking place in, you have no context going in. When you watch it, it's like, you're never going to understand. Like when we watch a superhero movie, we already know the context.
Right.
We know the battles. We know what's going on. Tony Stark, we're all nerds. If you take super soldier serum, we come out, we're Captain America, we get it. But with Casablanca, nowadays, we're so far removed from where that movie was and took place. There's a lot of people, when they're watching it, they're going, huh? And it's not the viewer's fault. It's just that it's the amount of time, it's so far removed that people are like, I mean, that movie was actually made at the time that stuff was happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you watch it now, it's like, what? You don't even know it. You have no context. That movie's, 80 years old now? 70 years old now? There's no generations of young moviegoers that have any connection to that time at all. Same with Citizen Kane.
All right. What's next?
We got Luis, who says, hey, John and crew, I just wanted to ask about the Fallout show. I really enjoyed it, but what do you guys think could have been better other than the fact that no super mutants were in it? Well, I mean,
I haven't even watched again, there's the problem. I haven't watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Everybody's on different places, so I have nothing to offer on it other than to say, so far I'm really enjoying it. Like I'm having a very, very good time watching the show. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, the show. And very well made.
So well made.
Very well made show.
And the actors are great.
So you don't have any problem, like any minor grievances with the show so far? Like something that you think maybe they can improve on already, or
maybe just connecting with the characters
I
better?
would think it would be great because right now the Ghoul is the only character that has any emotional depth to him, because they're telling, when you see his story before the war and now where he's at,
Right.
and all that, and he's having some actual character evolution. Like, what's the main character? Lucy?
Yeah.
Lucy. She's a very good character. Performer is great, all that kind of stuff. But there's, other than the action she participates in, there's not a lot there to get attached to.
Oh, yeah.
I would love it if they did something more deep. But like, to your point, Jonathan, you're saying that's not what this is supposed to be. And for what it's supposed to be, it's working very, very well. I'm hooked on
Yeah.
it. I'm engaged in it, and I'm looking forward to finishing off the rest of it. All right, what's next?
Hoser Maya says, for All Mankind renewed for season 5, spin-off series announced.
Yeah,
Oh,
like even one
yeah.
about the Russian space program. From a
Yeah,
different point
Star
of view.
City.
But are they reaching too far? Are they going to stretch themselves too much?
Yeah, that's what I'm worried.
No way.
You don't think so?
No,
worried about
and I think it's going to be. Look, I really liked all the intrigue. I just hope they bring back our favorite haughty, evil KGB female leader of Star City. I mean, they're not. She was put in a pretty bad situation, but I loved her. I think it's going to be great. I can't wait. 5 seasons of For All Mankind. I'm so happy to jump ahead into. They're getting closer to our own time now.
Yeah.
And what is the music they're going to use for the beginning of season 5?
Oh,
Do
yeah.
they use different music every year?
Yeah, they use famous pieces of music from
From
the
that
era.
era?
The final episode, the way it ends, always has a piece of music that would be for the decade it's going into.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's so. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
We got Dominic Suma who says, who, in your opinion, is the better TV character, Tyrion Lannister or Walter White? I think it's a toss-up.
They're very, very close, but I would lead Tyrion Lannister.
I mean, likable, Tyrion.
Well, I mean, yeah, if it's likable, but I mean, just who's the better character? Because you don't have to be a likable character to be a great character. They're both magnificent. They're both probably easily top 20 all-time best characters ever on television.
Oh, yeah.
But there's so much more to Tyrion. And
So he's written better, you think?
I don't.
But they travel
better.
they travel in different directions.
Yeah, they're very,
Whereas
very different
Tyrion's story is
characters.
one of redemption, where Walter White's story is one of going to be damned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think when you look at him, when you look at like the character itself, the very circumstances of the birth of the character, the life the character had to go through, what that character evolved himself into being, then the journey we get in the show itself, his wit, his charm. It's yeah. I mean, Walter White is one of the all-time great TV characters, no doubt. But I would watch more Tyrion, I think, if I was given the option. All right, what's next?
As Tyrion said, I am the gift. Jesse Price says, hey, John, just wondering, is Chris still on the show? Haven't seen her lately.
Actually, I'm talking to her a little bit later today. We're in the midst of getting ready to move.
Yeah, we have a lot going on here.
We have a lot going on. We are moving. Tomorrow we start packing everything up. Today is the last day we're going to be doing the show from this room. You will see Chris again, maybe not as regularly as we've used to. You remember, Chris has to make like a 2.5 hours of driving every day to be on the show. Yeah. So we're right now trying to work out like how much she'll be involved, when she'll be involved. We're trying to accommodate a lot of things, but yes, you will see her again, but it's not going to be this week. We're trying to get everything going. So yeah, that's where we're at. All right, what's next?
We got Todd. I'll just say Todd saw episode 6 of X-Men 97. The vision of Gambit doesn't prove he's still alive. He'll probably come back, though, through time travel, but the scene shouldn't have deflated you for episode 5.
Sure, but it does. So, look, your experience, what you experience in a show, there's no such thing of what you should experience and what you should not. It's just what it is. And it did. It did deflate my experience with it. Didn't ruin the experience. Don't misinterpret that.
Yeah.
Ruined the experience is way different than deflated it a bit. But no, if that's the experience it caused, then that's what it should have been. All right, what's next?
We got GX fans. Love the show and all that you guys do. I am saving a high-quality lightsaber replica for my young son. What age do you think is best to introduce him to A New Hope for maximum awe and reverence?
Look, you're asking the wrong guy, because in the delivery room, I would have a projector on the back wall. So the very first thing the baby's eyes see is that of Luke Skywalker looking at the binary suns. That's what I would do.
I think I started watching it like 4 or 5.
Yeah,
it
I
was
mean,
like just
now that's probably
a little-
not healthy.
Little kid sitting in the living room.
5
Jeez.
o'clock. 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock is the right
5 years
time.
old. 5 years old was when I really started to watch things that impacted me, and it was the first time I saw War of the Worlds, Byron Haskins' 53 War of the Worlds, that became my favorite movie, and I saw Planet of the Apes as well. So I think 5, you know enough about the world. I think to have maximum impact, kids have to have some kind of context. They have to know what a hero is. They have to know, you know, you've got to have some inkling of what's going on. Otherwise, you're watching this going, again, context is king.
The only wrinkle I'd add to that is that you don't have to completely comprehend a film the first time you see it as a kid.
Yes.
Because some of the best films you grow into.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you start to understand references the more you watch it as you get older. You start to understand the emotional narrative of a film, the more you watch it, you start to. So as your brain's developing and you rewatch these films, you're like, you understand it and appreciate it more.
And
So-
kids, I mean, if you remember, it opens with a bang, and you literally meet R2 and 3PO. And kids love astromech droids and their protocol
Yep.
droids. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
All right, last question of the day. What's next?
All right. Hey crew. Oh, the Brandon Salad. Hey crew, that Jesse Plemons scene in Civil War is just raw, uncomfortable immersion. Well, that's Jesse Plemons for you. Especially in IMAX. Absolutely love the film. Might see it a second time this weekend.
Yeah, we talked the other day about how he's just an underappreciated actor. Like he always 100% brings it every single time. And a lot of people still get surprised to find out who he's married to. He's married to Kirsten Dunst. And they appear in a lot of movies together. They work together a lot too, and this is one of them that they worked in together again. But he can always do that, whether he's in a major role in a film where he's in 70% of the movie, or whether it's a small little part in the film, like in this, he makes a massive impact every single time. How did you feel he fit into the movie?
About this
In Civil
With Civil
War.
War, yeah.
That scene, apparently, even when they filmed it, it was uncomfortable. But that scene is, you can kind of get an inkling of it from the trailer too, dude. You're kind of, because it's so tense. Yeah. And the reason it's so tense is we've all, I think, in our minds, living in America in the last 20 years, have put ourselves in that moment, hoping it's a moment we never find ourselves in. And he's so good in it. He's really good. I mean, it's not a big scene, but it's a showstopper.
By the way, if you really want to get a great overall idea about just how much Jesse Plemons can do, there's a little comedy that came out a couple of years ago called Game Night.
Oh,
That is so good. It's a really funny comedy, but Jesse Plemons as the neighbor, it is so
that was
good.
probably the most surprising performance of his.
Yeah.
Because,
you
I
don't
love
expect it.
Friday Night Lights, and he was kind of the kind heart and the soul of Friday Night Lights. And to see him in Game Night, I was just howling.
Oh yeah, he
Howling.
kills it in that movie.
Kills it.
And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the super chats, or you're one of our beloved YouTube channel members and sent those in. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank again the people in the room with me, Ray Ora,
See you later.
Jonathan Voico,
Till we see each other in the next studio.
writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Here's looking at you, kid.
And 2 years. 2 years of shows in this room that we are now moving out of. We've finished our lease. We're moving out. There is going to be a show tomorrow. It just won't be from this room. And so, yeah. So, guys, thanks for joining us today. My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye. Shogun. Young Shogun.
That's pretty good, Ray.